Hello, I'm Christina from The Turned Leg. I love to salvage, repurpose, and create and help others to do the same. I also am a booth owner, and I've created a whole series here on YouTube to help other booth owners do what we do. Nobody has any idea how much work goes into owning a booth unless you've done it. I have had a booth at Plaza Antiques and Collectibles Mall for almost 7 years now, and I have not learned everything yet. I still have a lot to learn, but everything I have learned, I am sharing with you in the series. So what is a booth? Let me just show you a standard picture that I will pop right in. This was my first booth at Plaza Antiques and Collectibles Mall in Lincoln Park, Michigan. It was 8 by 10 feet and it has walls and pegboard. Remember that saying, if you build it, they will come? Well, it's not always true when you own a booth. Just because you put items in a booth doesn't mean your customers will go in, purchase them, look around, and shop. And that is the key, right? We want them to go in and shop. The whole point of this video is I'm going to show you my tips and tricks for getting your customers to come in to your booth. Sure, you've set it up, you've priced your items, you've found great stuff, but how do you get them in? I'm going to share 4 tips with you that I have found help and have worked for me over the years. I'm also going to show you examples. So please be kind, because I am going to show you pictures from my booths over the years, and that's over almost 7 years. And so lighting and photography skills were not as good back then, but I want to show you good examples of exactly what I'm talking about so you have an idea how to improve your booth and get your customers to come in. And then stay tuned to the end of this video, because I'm going to show you a sneak peek of my new space. Yep, my end of the year video, I said no new spaces. I was downscaling. Nope. I'm doing something new, scary, and once again, it has no walls. So stay tuned to the end to find out how I'm getting customers to come in and to take a look at that new space. I'm really excited about it. Let's get started with finding out what are some of the best tips to get the customers to shop your booth. This was my first booth at Plaza Antiques and Collectibles Mall in Lincoln Park, Michigan. And I went out and found cool stuff and put it in the booth. But that did not automatically get me sales. Instead, I had to figure out what would work and what wouldn't. And let's start with our first tip. My first tip is end caps. You should never just line the walls of your booth with furniture. Instead, you gotta change it up a bit. And the most important thing that you can do is create an end cap. Have some items that face out to the people that are walking by. Here I created an end cap using an old shutter and a piece of furniture that faced out to the aisle. That way it catches people's attention. It also encourages them to go into the booth if they like what they see. End caps can be created just by turning furniture to face the aisle, or placing items back to back, or even creating a small vignette that faces the aisle, like in this kitchen. Old doors and shutters with L brackets at the bottom are a great way to make an easy end cap for your space. I also love to use screen doors because you can see through them. Old ladders work good too. Whatever you use, make sure it is secure and sturdy. Tip number 2 is a focal point, and this can be anything, but it should be your 1 or 2 really cool things in your booth. It should be something that can be seen from the aisle that'll draw people into your space. A focal point should be something a little unexpected at times. One of my first focal points, kind of created by accident, was this tower of suitcases that I created during a barn sale that I did in my mother's barn-shaped garage. This got a lot of attention, it got shoppers in, and I sold all of those suitcases very quickly. This ladder with items hanging off of it was another focal point I created. This was in my very first booth. This large piece of furniture, which is still in my booth today, is also one of my favorite focal points. It really draws people in. I often use my hand-painted furniture as focal points in my booth too. And in this case, the yellow and the orange pieces are not only focal points, but they're also an end cap in my booth. This is a picture of my booth space from last June, and as you can see, not all of it is lining the walls. There's lots of end caps all around, and you can probably point out a few focal points too. End caps and focal points are really important, and your focal point should really suit your style. Right across from my booth at Plaza Antiques and Collectibles Mall is this great awning, which makes a wonderful focal point. It also serves as an end cap. The dealer next to her also uses a great focal point, which is this hutch. I'm always amazed as I go to other antique malls to see what some people have as their focal point. Sometimes it's predictable, sometimes it's unexpected. For the next two tips, we're going to take a look at some of the other vendors at Plaza Antiques and Collectibles Mall and see what they do to get customers in. Tip number 3 is good lighting, and I've talked about this already in a previous video. I'm a bit of a lighting snob, but having a well-lit area will make it inviting and will get the customers in. Anything in your booth that has a light should be plugged in. Now, tip number 4 is make it pretty, but I don't mean it has to be a girly booth. You can have a manly booth and have it look nice. All I'm talking about is not too cluttered, not too dark. Make it look appealing. Get great ideas. You can also check out Pinterest or just walk around other antique malls. In my last video, I told you I was downsizing and that this would be my space I would be focusing in on in the new year. Well, things change, and I'm pleased to report that a little unexpected, the person who was next to me left the mall, and so the space was available. I have decided to take it on and expand my space, but I once again have very few walls, and I need to make it more inviting for my customers to get them to come in and shop. The first thing on the agenda was to paint the walls and give it a fresh new look. Thank goodness I love salvage and have a bunch of old doors and old wood and old ladders because I decided the best way to get my customers into my new space was to create a welcoming entrance. The first thing I did was go to my pile of stuff and find 2 doors of the same height. I also found an old ladder and a bunch of extra supports like L brackets. And I used screws to put everything together. I also did attach it to the side wall using an old screen in between. Make sure if you are building anything, you're building it sturdy. The next step, once I made the entrance, was to make the whole area look pretty, and that meant pulling in furniture and items. It was so funny once I started setting things up because immediately one of my dressers that I had planned to have in the front sold. I am not complaining. I'm happy when I make a sale. But I quickly had to find another piece of furniture to use. Whenever I'm staging an area, I start with the big pieces and then I add in the smalls. I also will constantly step back and take a look at the space to see if I like it. Varying height and textures is also very important. video has been helpful and given you some new ideas on how to get customers into your booth. If you have any suggestions for things that work for you in your area, please comment down below so we can share with other booth owners. I'm really excited about my new space, and I promise once I get it completed, I will take you all the way through and give you a tour of the space and how things are working or not working for me. Thanks so much for watching. Now get out there to salvage, repurpose, and create.